if we just keep going quickly.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, you're hurrying me along now.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure how much time I've used up.
Yeah.
This is Jaboticaba,
Yeah.
so this is the black sort of grape-like sort of looking fruit, but unlike grapes and vines and so on, this one produces the fruit right on the trunks and branches. So it's quite spectacular. They're very prolific. They will, when you get a good, mature, well-managed plant, they'll fill up all the branches. Just with these black fruits, so you get so many of them, you're eating as many as you can fresh, and then you have to sort of decide how to make Jaboticaba liqueurs and all sorts of things. This
what a
one,
chore.
they're slow to grow.
Yep.
This one has fruited last season, and I think I gave you one
Yeah,
last
I
time
got
you
the
were
last
here,
one.
just a few.
Yep.
These things will, if you look after them, you'll get multiple crops a year.
Yep.
If it's nice and wet, you'll get almost continuous. Because they're evergreen, but the main crop is still to come, because the main crop is during the colder months. Oh, this is my carambola, star fruit, which you might have tasted up in Singapore or somewhere.
Yeah.
This is a lot of people have trouble getting these things to fruit, and it's because like most plants and people and everything, they benefit from hybridization, vigor.
Yep.
So most plants have got all sorts of means of trying to get cross-pollination, and the way this plant does it, or this species, is that the styles which carry on the sort of the stigma, which is where that receives the pollen, they're different lengths, and so there's long style and short style, and so if you get better sort of cross-pollination if you have long and short rather than long and so on. The actual fruit load that you get. I've seen plants like this, but obviously much more mature. This is still a baby. You can see I've still got it strapped in.
Yeah.
With hundreds of fruit on, so many you can't eat them all.
Yep.
And also don't sort of be put off by some of the, if you ever see them in the supermarkets, these things are sort of leftovers that have come down from somewhere or other,
Right.
and many of them are sort of not very nice at all. If you get a good one, then you will sort of have one every day if you can.
So they're that productive even in Perth in this climate?
That remains to be seen, just how well we can manage it with this cross-pollination problem and so on. There's quite a few in the club that have got them. Yep. Everybody's sort of battling with it.
Yep.
That's just the guava. This is my black sapote, and I just sort of noticed these are hard to see.
Oh, look at that.
So they're very, very baby ones.
Yep, and chocolate pudding fruit for everybody.
Chocolate pudding fruit, Diosporus dinia.
Yep.
You can see these things cope very, very well with our conditions. In fact, I've got to hack the thing back. This is a graft. I've tasted a lot of black sapotes, and most of them are seedlings, and most of them are probably not worth it. People are put off because they're called chocolate pudding or black persimmon is another name. Because the flesh is sort of dark black. It almost looks like axle grease, and they look at that and they think it doesn't look very appetizing. But if you get a good one, you actually will go to a lot of trouble to get some, because they're quite nutritious and they're beautiful tasting, and you can use them in cooking to actually flavour things, even ice cream and so on. And they're very sort of strange in that you can get them this big or even bigger, and they're very productive. They want to be big trees. Grafts smaller, but they still want to be big, and so you've got to sort of keep containing them. You notice I never let anything get over about 3 metres. And you also get the branches going laterally rather than vertical. Things that go vertical usually are less fruitful. And so you get this fruit, and it's still rock hard, and you can take it into the kitchen, and then you might have to wait a week or two depending on when you picked it, because it's green and it's hard to tell. It loses its luster when it's ready. And the other thing is that this calyx starts to lift when it's getting into the ripe stage, but you probably still have to take it into the kitchen and let it soften up. And what happens almost overnight, one day after sort of 6 days in the kitchen, you looked at it the day before and it was still rock hard, and you think, oh, how long have I got to wait? And then you come in next morning and here's this thing, the skin's gone dark, really olivey green colour, and the thing's nice and soft, and then it's ready to eat. If you eat it before that, some of these plants I've deliberately sort of, the ones that if anybody ate that while it picked it, you know, two-legged predators is a bit of a problem. And so if anybody ate that when it wasn't soft, then they won't do it again. And so these are one of the ones where without losing anything, you can pick it when it's not sort of available for others, and then you ripen it up under your conditions with total control.
Right. And you can scoop it out like a bowl sort of thing, the flesh?
Yeah, scoop it out.
Yep, yep.
Spoon it out. With the big ones, you get about 3 or 4 meals. Just another guava, lemon tree. You need to know what your rainfall is, so that you know how much irrigation you're going to do and so on.
Yep.
This one here is a sapodilla or chico.
Yep.
And this is a grafted. You've got to go grafted, otherwise you'll wait forever. This one's prolific. Some of the others that I know are Krasui and Makok.
Right.
Makok's a smaller one.
That's Southeast Asian plant?
Southeast Asian.
Yep, yep.
These are the flowers. You can see they haven't actually done anything. They've just sort of died.
Yep.
But you know, it's growing beautifully.
Yeah,
so I've got a Krasui in Queensland, and it's only this high. Different, you know, much more sort of suitable conditions for these plants because they're sort of subtropical, tropical, really.
Yep.
But you can see you can still grow them here, and we know in Perth people have got them fruiting.
Yep.
But you know, might take another couple of years rather than. This one here is the white sapote or Aztec fruit. You'll see the light. Kill yourself. White sapote, and so you get the green fruit about that big.
Yep.
And they're absolutely delicious.
Yep.
You know, to kill for. This one's a grafted one. I got this. You can see from the size of it. It's one of the very first plants that I got, and at that stage it was hard to get graft rather than seedlings. And the guy didn't know what variety it was, so I said I'll take it anyway because he was giving it to me for a cheap price. So I still don't know. A lot of the white sapotes they have a problem with cross pollination, and so I actually had a seedling. Just to do the cross-pollination job. I had it standing here somewhere.
Yep.
It got up, you know, just as big as this, and I found that this thing was sufficiently self-fertile by itself. I couldn't justify having it here, so my wife was quite horrified or surprised, you know, when she said, "You're pulling that thing out after all those years of looking after it." And I said, "Yeah, I mean, I don't need it."
Yep.
And that means something else can go in. You know, because this'll go up to 3 or 4 meters.
Yep.
Look at that black scale.
Oh yeah.
I find with things with pests and so on, you always ramp up slowly. If you can manage the thing without sort of bringing pesticides, you know, nasty sort of chemicals and so on in, the better.
Yep.
In terms of killing bees and everything else.
Cool. So that one is Casamaroa edulus.
That's Casamaroa
edulus.
Yeah. Yeah. Very, very nice fruit.
Yep.
We had I remember one in the early days. We had a fruit meeting with a guy up in Wanneroo who had a couple of these, very mature. And for the morning, he'd put out a couple of boxes of mature white sapotes for us. Well, we were like kids in a lolly shop. Honestly, somebody's there got his mouth full and say, "Well, this is my 4th one," you know. This one here, this is my son's fig.
Yep.
This one here is Chinese date, and so or Ziziphus juju.
Yep.
It's finished for the season, and they're deciduous. And they're thorny, and they will sucker depending on how you manage it. So you have to sort of manage all that.
Yep.
They're very unusual in they've got this very strange sort of growth and fruiting behaviour.
Yeah.
If you look here, this is the fruiting. This would have been a fruiting sort of stem, and when it goes through its deciduous cycle, which is coming up, you can see it's just pulling back nutrients and so on back into the plant to save them. It doesn't just lose the leaves, it sheds actually these fruiting ones. That one obviously isn't ready to come off, but that's what happens.
Right.
And so you're left with these. And the other interesting thing to notice with this species is the zigzag nest.
Isn't it funny? Like
these things, just like carambola, they have a cross-pollination sort of hiccup that you need to sort of get on top of. The best fruiting variety in WA is Chico, which was developed in the US, in California, And so that's what I bought when I got this one initially.
Yep.
And then because you need to sort of get cross-pollination, then the two other main ones that are known in the world are called Lee and Lang. And you can see I've grafted on a couple of these things. Here's another one here to try and cover it. The best way to actually get fruit is to get a tree, get a plant that actually sets fruit parthenocarpically and doesn't need the pollination. That way you get super reliable crop loads. The trouble is when you get a little plant this high, it doesn't have a flag on it or a notice sort of saying I am parthenocarpic. so and of course they're the rarity, the ones you want, but if only you had many of the commercial growers, one of the guys who established Jujubes in WA, he's probably got about 15 varieties, and with all those varieties he doesn't have a problem. I mean, he just gets fruit like this going out of fashion.
Yep.
So I think, this one's an unusual one. One of the lily pillies or syzygiums.
Yep.
Syzygium lermanii. It's called ryeberry. It's one of the 4 native bush foods in Australia that's actually been tried commercially.
Yep.
And so many of them they're just faddish sort of stuff.
Yep.
And this one produces little bunches of red sort of tiny. They're only tiny fruit. Quite unusual in that they taste like people, and I agree, they taste like sort of cinnamon rather than a sort of a straight sweet. So a lot of people use them in cooking and so on.
Right.
This one's struggling to find space. I've had to sort of you can see I've hacked off a bit of the white sapotes. The white sapotes want to be big plants and they've got very invasive roots.
Yep.
And you've got to contain them.
Yep.
So, you can see I've tried to open it out and get the branches going down, otherwise it'll just keep wanting to go straight up.
Yep. So is this one East Coast variety, the syzygium? It's native to the East Coast?
Yes.
Yep,
yes, yes. And sort of more tropical than
right.
This is Wampy.
Yep.
So Clausenia lancium.
Yep.
It produces bunches of sort of yellow, sort of globular type fruits about that big.
Yep.
This one's fruited. Many bunches, and so they're quite nice.
Yep.